Hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are around the world, and welcome to today's Postgrad Insights UK Festival Week session. Today, in association with the Royal Agricultural University. You won't be shocked to hear that today's session involves agriculture, all things agriculture and horticulture as well. So Ellie from the Royal Ag will be giving you a presentation for 15 to 20 minutes before going through a Q&A. Just a reminder, this is a live session. If you're on Zoom, you can ask your questions. If you're watching on LinkedIn or Facebook Live, I am aware there's a few technical glitches with sending through messages. We will ensure we get that fixed, and that will be sorted within the next half an hour to 40 minutes. Please do send through your questions. So what will this session focus on, and what are we going to go through? Top 10 reasons to study agriculture. We'll just breeze past that before the Royal Agricultural University give their presentation for why they are the best place to study. A bit about postgrad.com, a chance to win a £500 bursary that all students are eligible for, and what is coming up on the following days of Festival Week. So agriculture, why it's so important, and I'm sure that Ellie will touch upon this in just a moment's time, but you are going to be very rural. You're going to be in a very much quiet part of town, wherever you are. I mean, I've been to the Royal Agricultural University before. It's very isolated, but not too far from a city, which are a major town, which is fantastic. But it is a beautiful place to go and study at. Many different careers span off the back of it, all the way ranging up into business courses, accountancy roles, obviously the farming sector. But many careers are up for grabs. But look, I can go on all day, but what I'd like to do at this point is hand over to Ellie. She is an ambassador for Royal Agricultural University. She will go through all things Royal Ag, a bit about agriculture, and if there's any issues, any questions, let me know. But for now, see you soon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so as Gareth just mentioned, my name's Ellie and I work in the marketing and recruitment team at the Royal Agricultural University. So a little introduction to us. As mentioned, we are the Royal Agricultural University. And for those of you that haven't heard of us before, we're based in Cirencester, which is in Gloucestershire in the UK. It's also part of the Cotswolds, which you might have heard of. And so as Gareth mentioned, we are quite rural, but I would argue that we're not isolated. We've got really good transport links all around us, and we're quite central in terms of lots of neighbouring cities. So we're about 40 minutes from Cheltenham. We're about just shy of an hour away from Bristol. And we've got a local train station, which is called Kemble, which is on the direct train line to London Paddington, which takes just about 90 minutes to get from us to London Paddington. So although, as you can see in that beautiful picture there, we are based right in the centre of the countryside, so we're pretty well located to get to lots of other places too. And there's a little spot of us on the map there. So you can see we're just sort of in the southwest of England there, where that little orange dot is. So quite well located. But yes, so we're in a market town called Cirencester, which you can see in the top right-hand picture there. Which is good little market town. It's got plenty of shops and cafes and things like that. But obviously, importantly for agriculture, we've got lots and lots of different sort of fields and things all around us, and lots of access to lots of different farms. So a little bit about our campus. We're quite a small bit campus. We were founded in 1875. It was our 1825, sorry. It was our 175th anniversary last year, which we were celebrating. We're quite a rural campus, like I mentioned, and we're quite a small campus, but we have grown to have about 1,100 students. But although we're quite a small campus, we've got everything kind of in terms of amenities that you would expect from sort of a larger place, just all a little bit more compact. So we've got things like a bar, cafe, dining room. We've got a really well-stocked library. We've got on-campus accommodation, especially catered for postgraduate students as well as undergraduate. A really good top perk of ours is that we've got plenty of space around us, which includes plenty of car parking, which is free for all students, which is quite a rarity in the university world of the UK. We've got plenty of sports facilities, and we're quite well renowned for our rugby. And we've also got a really well-managed student hub with plenty of different support on offer for all kinds of students, whether it's postgraduate, undergraduate, any kind of students at all, any kind of support that you need. We've got a student hub, which is open all the time for students. So in terms of our community, we're really proud that our students always rank us really highly. So we were top 10 University of the Year in the Uni Student Choice Awards last year, which we're really proud of because obviously it's voted for by students. And just some of the kind of things that I've touched on already, the learning support that we offer students is really highly regarded. We're really passionate about making sure that we've got lots of inclusivity, making sure that everyone feels supported despite any kind of like difficulties they might be having. We've got 24/7 security on campus. We offer a range of different scholarships and bursaries. We also have a dedicated careers team, which are on hand to help students find careers, both whilst they're studying with us, so if it's looking for part-time work, placements, things like that, but also looking for your sort of graduate prospects and things afterwards. We've got a really dedicated careers team. Also, our IT services are really highly regarded amongst our students as well. Obviously, with the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of at times, all of our studies had to go online. That was something that we were already set up for, especially with our postgraduate degrees, because we've got experience in doing blended learning courses. So we already had all the infrastructure and the hardware as well as the software in place for all of those things to run really smoothly. And not only that, it's looking at the whole student journey, and we've also got a really strong alumni network. So our graduates from the Royal Agricultural University and previously the college, which is what we used to be the Royal Agricultural College, which you might have heard of before. We've got a really strong alumni network, and you'll always bump into people all over the world that say, oh, I'm from the Royal Ag, how can I help? I've got this opportunity coming up, and things like that. So you'll see on LinkedIn, things like that, and also sort of face-to-face events as well. You're never too far away from a Royal Ag graduate, and they're always willing to help. So just touching on our accommodation, as I mentioned, we do have on-campus accommodation for all of our students. We've got a mixture of en-suite and standard rooms. Most of our rooms are catered, so students tend to have their meals in our bar area or cafe area, in our servery and things like that. But there are some self-catered options, especially in our postgraduate house. We've got a dedicated block for mature students, which does have a kitchen area and things like that, so you can opt to be self-catered if you prefer. But as with a lot of our postgraduate degrees and postgraduate students, there are options to have part-time courses so that you can split your studies over sort of one or 2 days a week. So many of our postgraduate students do tend to use kind of more sort of dip in and out accommodation options. We've got lots of different options in the Cirencester area. So there's loads of Airbnbs, we've got a local travel lodge, we've got a local Premier Inn, and we do also offer some bed and breakfast facilities on campus as well. So if you just wanted to stay the odd night here and there, if you're looking at commuting or something like that, then that's an option too. So just a little bit about enterprise at the RAU. It's something we're also really highly regarded for, and we've won a lot of awards for. What we're really passionate about at the RAU is to help grow and support students if they've got their own business ideas. So we've got a number of different competitions that we run and a number of different kind of programs that can help support students. So whether that's a business idea that they've got that directly relates to their course or not, the help and support is always there for students to explore and launch their own businesses. And some of our enterprise schemes and things like that, as I mentioned, we've got different competitions that can help you win sort of prize money and seed money for your businesses. But even if you didn't go down the competition route, there's also the support available for you to get sort of help and guidance in terms of setting up your own business, in terms of sort of the accountancy skills you might need, the business skills you might need. Also things like the legal kind of support and things in terms of your intellectual property rights and things like that. all of those kind of different things we've got resources to help you with, and we've got a really dedicated enterprise team that can help all students. So that's regardless of what course you're on, what your business idea is, that support's always available. So a little bit more about our courses. So we've got our courses split up into different schools. So I'll just take you through some of our different schools and the postgraduate courses that we offer. So the first of which is kind of the school that we're probably most famous by our name, is the School of Agriculture, Food and the Environment. And the postgraduate courses that fall under that school are our Masters of Science by Research and our PhD courses. But then also the other courses that we also offer are our Agricultural Technology and Innovation, our Sustainable Agriculture and Food Security, and also our Graduate Diploma in Agriculture, which you can also do a certificate version of as well. So all of the details, I won't go into too much detail about each individual course on this event today, because all of the information is on our website, and we also are running our own separate webinars that delve deeper into each of our courses at the moment. But this is just to give you a little bit of a flavour of the kind of things that we offer. But by all means, if you've got any questions, then just pop them into the chat and I can help answer those at the end for you. So in terms of our School of Business and Entrepreneurship, we have an MSc in Business Management. And again, all of our courses do have an agriculture kind of twist to them. So you'll be looking at sort of real life case studies and things like that for looking at business management in kind of the wider context of the rural land, not necessarily just agriculture, but it could be the business management of historic buildings or stately homes or any kind of rural land kind of contexts and things like that. So it's not necessarily purely agriculture, but we've always got that kind of tinge back to it. Our School of Equine Management and Science, again, is something that students quite often study at a postgrad level using the Masters of Science by Research or a PhD. We've done lots of groundbreaking research into the equine world, and we're quite highly regarded within the kind of equine sector of being sort of industry leaders, especially in terms of some of the research that our students and our staff have conducted into sort of equine management and equine nutrition. There's more news articles on our website about that in particular, if that's something that you're interested to learn more about. And we've got our School of Real Estate and Land Management. Now this, I would say, is probably one of the other areas that we're most famous for. It's one of our longest running courses. Our MSc in Real Estate and our MSc in Rural Land Management. They're both RICS accredited, which is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. And so the courses are really highly regarded. They're really up to scratch. They're reviewed really regularly, so they're always really current. And our graduates always get pretty good jobs quite quickly after graduating. So our students are definitely well sought after. And then we've got some new courses to talk about as well. So just recently, we've opened a secondary campus in Swindon, which isn't too far away from us in Cirencester. It's about just over half an hour away in a car. And it's our Cultural Heritage Institute. So it's an exciting new chapter for the Royal Agricultural University. So we've got two main courses that we're offering as part of that, and that's our MSc in Historic Environment Management, as well as our MSc in Conservation and Management of Historic Buildings. And they're really, really interesting courses. So they both are kind of looking around the kind of archaeology side of things and the historical management of different things and different buildings. So think along the lines of the National Trust and English Heritage, but not only based in the UK, we're also looking internationally as well about other kind of historic buildings that are overseas. I know that some of our professors have done a lot of work in America, for example, and all over the world, looking at different kind of historic buildings and historic environment and things like that as well. So those are two really new, exciting courses for us. They were launched last year, obviously during the pandemic. So we've got our sort of first and second cohort of students that are really enjoying those courses, and it's going to be really exciting to see the outcomes that they have of their studies. So a little bit about entry requirements. They do all differ per course, but all of the details are on our website. The links there in front of you on the screen, but what I'll also do at the end of my presentation is just pop some links into the chat as well, so you can have a further look. It's worth noting that if you're an international student, we do have some international requirements, and there might be some requirements as part of your visa applications and things like that. So there might be some kind of English language requirements, or there might be some kind of stipulations in terms of your visas, like I mentioned, but we've got a really dedicated visa support team that can help throughout that process. And we've also got our admissions team as well that are always on hand to answer any questions that you've got in terms of how your qualifications might map into the English equivalencies and things like that. So if you've got any questions at all about entry requirements or anything like that, then do just get in touch. It's also worth noting there, that second point, that our applications are considered as a whole. Because we are a small specialist university, we do have the luxury of having a little bit more sort of time and resource to be able to look at each application and assess them on their individual merits. So if you think that you might not quite have the entry requirements, but you've got, for example, some work experience or years of work experience, or it might be that you're a mature student and you've been out of education for quite some time, but you've got other kind of experience that you think might be applicable, include that in your personal statement, chat to us, chat to the admissions team, and we do assess all of our applications as a whole. And it's worth noting that, especially being a smaller institution, we do have the ability to be able to kind of nurture you through the kind of whole application student journey from the very outset right through to the end of graduation. So we like to think that we get to know everybody on an individual level, not just as a student number. So yeah, as I said there, as it mentioned at the bottom of the screen there, we're always welcoming you to get in touch with us. So get in touch with our admissions team, and their email address is there. And then on the right-hand side there, we've just got some of our logos of some of the employers that have recruited a lot of our students, and they're also some of the logos of the partners of many of our postgraduate courses. So what we're always striving to do is to make sure that our courses are as up-to-date as possible, but also making sure that they're industry relevant. The outcomes of our graduates is so important to us. We want to make sure that you get the best possible jobs at the end of your studies with us. So we're always looking for guidance from key employers and key businesses to help make sure that our courses are ticking all the right boxes for the kinds of traits that they want to see their graduates that are going on to work for them, making sure that they've got all the up-to-date knowledge that they want to look out for. So as Gareth mentioned, there's so many different sort of career paths and career prospects that people get as a result of postgraduate qualifications at the Royal Agricultural University. Many people go off on complete tangents and do something completely random, but it might be that they wouldn't have got there without doing a postgraduate qualification first. Equally, they might stay within the kind of rural sector. But as you can see on the screen there are so many different possibilities. I'll just pick a few out, for example. So it might be that you go into management consultancy. It could be that you go into agronomy. You might stay straight down the sort of agriculture line, do an agriculture postgraduate qualification and stay in the kind of the agronomy side of things. It might be that you're more interested in the policy side of things. We've got some really key industry leaders as part of our teaching staff, and our professors are working with government sort of organisations all the time to make sure that policies on sort of food sustainability and food policy are always up to date and things like that. So that could be something that you're interested in. It could be, for example, that you're interested in leisure management and the sort of hospitality side of the rural industry. Or it can be something that takes you on a complete different tangent. You could be go down the finance route or the marketing route, for example. There's lots of different possibilities. As you can see, there's a bit of a Oxford and Cambridge kind of vibe going on there. So a lot of our main building of our campus was modelled on Oxford and Cambridge, just on a slightly smaller scale. So yeah, it's very traditionally English, which appeals to a lot of our students. But like I said, we're quite small, but we've got all the facilities that you would expect to have at a bigger university. We do have the benefits of being sort of a little bit more quiet and a little bit more remote, but we've got really good transport links to local cities and towns and things like that. So just touch on a little bit about some of the careers that our students have gone on to after doing their postgraduate qualifications. So I won't go through each and every one of them, but for example, we've got Rachel on the left here that did our MSc in real estate. She's really interesting, actually. She's a really lovely girl that I got to know really well while she was with us. She actually started off not in a sort of agricultural world at all, but she worked as a local estate agent, found out about our courses, came and did her MSc in real estate, and then got a really successful job at a big firm called Dalcourt McCarran as a graduate surveyor. And that's really good. A number of other kind of people have also gone on to do different things. Pascal and David are really interesting, actually, at the bottom there. They actually started up their own business in partnership with our Farm 491, which is specifically a business incubation hub that looks after agri-tech businesses. And it's a really interesting kind of business that they set up called the Consumer Brand. But yeah, you can find out more about them on our website if you're interested. And again, just touching on some of our thought leadership and research. So I mentioned that a lot of our professors, not only are they qualified lecturers and teachers, but they also have their hands still very firmly in working in practice themselves and getting involved with lots of different research and things like that. So we've got Professor Louise Manning on the top left there. She's involved in a lot of policy making to do with food sustainability. She's quite often featured on Radio 4 and is a very sought after researcher in terms of how do we make food more sustainable. David Main, who is the top middle gentleman there that you can see on your screen, he does a lot of work with farm welfare, and animal welfare. He also sits on a number of different government boards and things like that, and helps with policy making for animal welfare, and also does a lot of work with McDonald's and their sort of chicken sort of advisory committees and things like that to make sure that they're sourcing their meat sustainably and things like that. I'll just pick another one. With top right, we've got Andrew Hemmings. He's the head of our School of Equine, and he's very well known in the equine industry for doing a lot of research and things like that. So he's very highly regarded in the equine industry. So there's just a few examples there. And obviously all of the research and things that happens then is undertaken by our academic staff, always feeds back into our students' work and studies as well. They're always really happy to run seminars and get students involved in the research projects that they're working on as well. So just a little bit touching on some of our sort of student feedback as well. Here's Pascal and David again that I mentioned earlier. So they actually did our graduate diploma in agriculture, which is one of the courses that you can study if you've got absolutely no background in agriculture at all. It gives you a really firm sort of grounding. So yeah, as you can see there, David said, my course gave me all the essential knowledge about agriculture and UK farming networking that we needed to start our new initiative, which reconnects consumers with farmers. So it was them that I mentioned then launched their own business. And then we've just got a few other sort of snapshots here of people that have done other courses as well. So for example, Peter here on the right hand side, he actually was awarded the Marshall Papworth Scholar, and he also got the RAU Overseas Exceptional Consideration Award as well. So there are just a couple of examples of extra sort of financial help and things like that that you could look to apply for if that might be applicable to you. But yeah, all gone on to do really good things. And that kind of draws me to a close, really. Obviously, there's a huge wealth of information out there. There's lots more you can find out on our website. But it would be great if we could speak some more about what things sort of interest you predominantly. Like I said, we're also running our own postgraduate course webinars at the moment. So we just ran one earlier today about our agricultural technology and innovation masters. Next week, we've got a webinar taking place next Wednesday for our sustainable agriculture and food security masters. So if you're interested in that or any of the other upcoming sessions that we're running, have a look at our open days page on our website. But equally in the new year, we're looking to run another on-campus event. We were able to run one sort of the beginning of September, quite a small postgraduate event on campus, obviously all bearing in mind with the COVID compliance and things. And so all being well, we're hoping to run another on-campus open day in the new year. So details of those will also be on our open days page. That draws me to a close, but I'd really welcome any questions that you've got, and thank you for joining us.
Excellent. Thank you, Ellie. Really good, really insightful. And it's good to get a feel of the university. You know, you've gone through everything, kind of the history, where you guys are based. We've got a few questions here, and I think it's very important to ask. It's very relevant. I hate to ask about COVID, but it's got to be asked because of the circumstances. If a student is from a red list country or closed country, as they're called now, how do you go about helping them? I know you're probably in a much better situation being as rural as you are. How do you help the students? Do they live on campus? If they don't live on campus, are you still able to help them? What's the circumstances surrounding that?
Very good question. What I would like to do is to refer to we've got somebody in place at the moment that's like looking after all of our COVID policy making and things like that. So I'm a little bit hesitant to give the wrong information. As far as I know it, in terms of students coming from red list countries, or as were, they're at the beginning of term, I believe they were given like an isolation period, and we have actually one of the few universities to have a testing centre on campus. So that's still taking place. We've got a testing centre on campus, and I know that when students were first starting in September, they were asked obviously to follow all of the kind of government international incoming international guidelines in terms of isolation and hotels and things like that. And then once students arrive on campus, they then have to do they're encouraged to do regular lateral flow testing. And then we also do have a PCR testing centre on campus as well, which is open also to the general public.
Makes total sense. And my second point there about accommodation, I think you've touched upon it briefly. Is the accommodation on campus? Is it in, you mentioned obviously it's in Cirencester, just on the outskirts anyway. Talk to the students about what they can expect. You know, is it a social town? Is it a student night town? You know, good nights out, bars, pubs, and how far would they have to travel if it's not directly in the town?
Yeah, so in terms of our accommodation, most of our first years opt to live on campus in halls. So yes, that is all on campus. We do have one off-campus halls. We were in a really fortunate position where our student intake was really high this year. So we were able to source additional off-campus accommodation for first years. So predominantly first years stay on campus, as undergraduate students, this is. Looking more at postgraduate students, we do have one on-campus accommodation building that's slightly quieter for postgraduate students that do want to be away from the kind of the party lifestyle. But by all means, if you want to be right in the middle of the party lifestyle, you can be. So yeah, that's an option. Like I also said, there's loads of other off-campus accommodation options. So a number of our postgraduate students join the applicant Facebook group, for example, and you'll sort of see a lot of chatter sort of in the months leading up to the September entry point, chatting about house shares and things like that. There's loads of different student accommodation, kind of private rentals around Cirencester and the neighbouring towns.
Okay.
Quite often find that some of our postgraduate students kind of look out for other students that are on the same course or similar courses, or just other postgraduate students, and they kind of get house shares together. But in terms of the sort of neighbouring area and the sort of social side of things, we've got a bar on campus, which is called our Tithe Barn, which put on a number of different kind of social activities. So sort of Wednesday nights, typically student night around where we are. As it is with a lot of universities because of sports matches and fixtures and things like that. So we have Wednesdays are pretty popular with us around here, and then Friday and Saturday nights, as you'd expect, as the weekend comes. So a lot of students kind of have drinks at the on-campus bar and things like that. And then head on into Cirencester itself, which, like you mentioned, we're just on the outskirts. It's about 10-15 minute walk into town. Yeah. We do have shuttle buses as well that run into town and back. And there's a number of different bars. There's a nightclub. There's lots of different pubs. As obviously we mentioned, we're quite rural, so we've got quite a few sort of country pubs. Lots of country pubs. Yeah. So some more sort of town-centered bars and things like that as well. But if you're looking for sort of a bigger night out, we're not far from Gloucester, Cheltenham, Bristol, Swindon, all within about 40 minutes of us.
Yeah.
So a lot of students, our student union quite often put on buses and coaches and stuff like that to do big nights out a little bit further afield. Some students tend to go into Stroud, which is the nearest sort of bigger town, which has got sort of more pubs and bars and clubs and things like that. It's got like Wetherspoons and the kind of things you'd expect to see in a slightly bigger place. But that probably gives
excellent. Excellent. Nice to hear about Wetherspoons there, a student's best friend for sure. Look, there's two questions off the back of that then before I get into the course specific questions and tuition costs and whatnot. First of all, affordability where you are. What, is it affordable compared to the major cities? Yes, you're not in a major city, so naturally it's going to be cheaper, but compared to other areas of the country, how does it fare?
I'd say we're kind of in terms of accommodation, I would say we're quite reasonable. As I mentioned in my presentation, a lot of our students opt for the catered packages, which do work out pretty reasonable in terms of meal costs. Because obviously then you don't have to think about what you're cooking, you don't have to, there's no waste.
Yeah, of course.
So our accommodation we tend to get feedback on as being pretty reasonable. In terms of living costs, if you're looking for sort of private rentals and the general sort of day-to-day living, shopping costs and things like that, I'd say we're pretty middle of the ground. We're not a student town. We are sort of a more typical market town, a more typical kind of Cotswold village, well, not village but town. We don't have really high costs of things like you would find in London or Birmingham or Manchester, the sort of bigger city costs of living, but we're probably a little bit more expensive than, say, perhaps, well, I don't know really.
You just think of someone like Gloucester Uni. Obviously, you're going to have students going to, looking at the likes of Gloucester Uni and UE near Bristol, which from an affordability perspective, compared to the major cities, I know that, you're very affordable. Just looking back as well, I've visited you guys before, and train tickets, they're not a lot, to get to Birmingham New Street, to get to Bristol Temple Meads, which are major train stations in the UK. It's not far away, so
not at all. And train costs are pretty reasonable where we are, and like I said, we've got Kemble train station, which is really close to us, and it's on the Paddington line. It's the Paddington to Cheltenham line, which then can take you up to Birmingham and further north. And
excellent. And the final question before I move on to the tuition costs and everything would be, you touched upon it there about Wednesday night being like student night and having a lot of things on. That tends to be when the sports happens and the team events. Just talk to me from a student's perspective how important that is, because people will see agriculture and they will just think farming. They will just go farming. How important is it to stress that it's just another university where, I've been to a uni, like I said, there's rugby posts, there's football happening, there's all sporting things happening. You will be part of a social environment and there will be other things to do other than just agriculture.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so although we got agriculture in our name, it's not all about agriculture. A lot of students don't come from farming backgrounds. They've never been on a farm in their life. I'm not from a farming background. I live just down the road from the uni. You will not be out of place if you've not come from a farming background at all.
Excellent.
It's just in our name. But yeah, in terms of other kind of social activities, we've got a really passionate student union that put on loads of different extracurricular sort of stuff. So yeah, sporting's a really big thing for us. Like I mentioned, rugby is in Gloucestershire in general, rugby is very popular. So yeah, there's a lot of competitive rugby that takes place. We've also got more sort of typical kind of country pursuits. So we've got a polo team that a lot of our equine students are part of. We've got a lacrosse team. We've got football teams. We've got pretty much every sport going. There's Cotswold Water Park, which is just down the road from us and the other side of Cirencester. So we've got a lot of water sports sort of that take place and things like that, different societies that take advantage of those facilities. So we've got there's like you can do like sailing, you can do, I mean, in the summer you can do like inflatable banana boat rides if that's up your street. You can
well, look, thank you for that, but now I'm keen on time just to keep an eye on it. So tuition costs and everything else, it wasn't really mentioned in the presentation. I know it's still variable depending on the student and the scholarships they get, but just talk to me. One of the questions we've had come in is, does the costs differ whether I'm an international student or a domestic student? And if they do, are the packages different?
Packages in what respect? What do you mean?
Presumably, I mean, they mean courses. So like if you're an international student, will it be more blended learning? Would it be more face-to-face and a little bit online, or, you know, as opposed to a UK student being fully online or whatever?
Yeah. So in terms of the teaching methods and things like that, obviously we've had to be a bit flexible over the past sort of 18 months. But in terms of whether you're a home student or international or EU, it's all the level playing field. It's all the same for us. Obviously, we've had to make a few exceptions where students haven't been able to get to us, but the majority of our courses are face-to-face courses. So for international students, we'd be looking to support you with your visa application so that you can come to the UK and come to Cirencester to study with us face-to-face. As with a lot of our courses, there's quite a lot of practical elements that you might expect from sort of the more traditional agriculture type degrees, but also saying that also with our business degrees and things like that as well, there's a lot of face-to-face contact, face-to-face teaching, so where there's been exceptions where we've had to kind of work around restrictions and things like that, we're working to move back towards the model that all teaching is face-to-face, whether you're a home student or international. In terms of the tuition fees, all of the fees are listed on each of our individual course pages, so I will just pull up one as an example. Business management, for example. So each of our course pages follows the same kind of theme. So there's a little bit of an introduction, and then a little bit about how you get taught, what the entry requirements are, and then what the fees are. So have a good read around all of our courses if that's what you're interested in. I don't think that our 2022 tuition fees have been published on our website yet. So just as an example for the 2021 applicants, if you were to do our business management degree, if you were a full-time UK or EU student, it would be £8,750 a year. If you were an overseas student studying full-time, it was £13,150 a year. I'm pretty sure that the 2022 tuition fee should be up on our website anyway.
Excellent. And can you talk to me about scholarships as well? Because I've had I've been inundated with questions, and not really questions in some instances. Some of the people messaging on Facebook at the moment, I go, scholarship funding, and I get that, you know, everybody wants something cheaper, everybody wants something for free. I understand that. I've been in the same position. I've been a student myself. However, can you talk to me about the scholarship providers you work with and what scholarships you offer?
Just popped a couple of links into the chat there for you.
But
mainly looking at the first link that I put there, which is our I think I've just sent the same link twice. That's helpful. But yeah, looking mainly at our scholarships. So we offer a number of different scholarships, some of which are internal scholarships, and some of which are external. So just going through a couple of them, we've got our Vice Chancellor Scholarship, which is £500 discount off of postgraduate course fees for different types of criteria and things like that. We've got another one, for example, we've got a RAU Sports Scholarship. So if you've excelled in certain different kind of proficiencies of sport, then we've got up to £3,000 of scholarships we can offer. Another one, for example, we've got it's called our Sir Emrys Jones Memorial Trust Award, which is again £3,000. And the criteria for that one is left, that's from a sort of a memorial trust that was given to the RAU that's based around students from Wales. So if you've got a Welsh connection, then you can get money off your tuition fees and your living costs and things like that. And then we also, I mean, there's lots of different rounds, I won't go through them all, but then we also do work with things like the Great Scholarships. We do work with the Commonwealth Scholarship. We've also got a Clyde Higgs Postgraduate Scholarship, which is up to £5,000. So all of that, as with all scholarships and bursaries, they've all got their own particular little criterias and application processes and things like that. So it's worth having a look at all of them.
Yes, and just to hold you a sec there, do you work with the Chevening Scholarship as well? It's not listed, but is that one you're familiar with?
We have done in the past, yeah. I don't think we did last year, but I think we have worked with scholarships in the past.
Very prestigious scholarship. I think you need 2-1 or above. But I think that you're going to have, applications are just about to close, but in particular for next year, there'll be a high amount of Chevening scholars definitely looking for courses to study, and no doubt they'll be watching now and in the future. And if you are watching as Chevening applications start in 2022, please be sure to have a look at the Chevening website, see if Royal Ag are involved, or head over to our website and have a look. Ellie, thank you very much for that. Very much appreciated. It's been a brilliant session. Everybody watching, whether it's on demand, whether you've registered and not quite watched yet, or you're watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or via the Zoom platform, we will be reaching out to you. The Royal Agricultural University will reach out to you as well. So if you have any issues, questions, concerns, issues, or simply just want to apply, please get in touch or reply to any of the emails. But Ellie, for now, thank you very much. You want to put the camera off? We're just going to move on a bit about postgrad.com. So
thank you, everyone.
What does postgrad.com offer? So over 10 million students have used our website to find their perfect postgraduate program over the many years that we've been around now. We've got a choice of over 200 countries for you to study it, making us globally the #1 website for you to look at in terms of postgraduate courses. High caliber international providers such as Chevening and Marshall, which we just mentioned, we partner with. The website actually has the best advice on accommodation, visas, English language support and tests, funding, accommodation, and much, much more. Ultimately, it is the one-stop shop for everything postgrad related, which is great. And eligibility to apply for one of the £500 bursaries. Now, who is applicable? Anyone is. Anyone that is studying full-time, part-time, distance learning, blended learning. If you're looking to study now in the new year or even 2023, please head over to postgrad.com, get your applications in. We will be reaching out to you to see if you want to sign up. It's completely free and it has no bearing on any other funding or scholarships that you intend to apply for. Just before we wrap up, what we got coming up tomorrow, we have a medicine and healthcare special. That session is set to be our most popular of the week. And then on Friday, we have Study in Wales with Trinity St David in Wales. But for now, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all for the rest of the week, tomorrow and Friday. And if we don't hear from you at all, we will be reaching out to you, like I said. But for now, thank you very much. Take care. And from all of us here and at Royal Ag Uni, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.